All right, so we're back in SolidWorks here. You can have your parts open or closed. It doesn't really matter. I've closed mine. And so it could be that you created them one day and you're coming back to do the assembly, but either way will work. So I've opened SolidWorks. This time I'm going to create an assembly. So basically the way this works is that any little part that goes into something you're going to build, you need to build a separate part in SolidWorks. But then when you want to show them all together and how they fit together, then you make an assembly. So we're going to create an assembly. All right, so you may or may not have it pop up right away with, well, hey, you're creating an assembly. What would you like to insert? So I'm going to go ahead and start with my sides. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to say open. And then it gives me a little preview of what my object looks like. And so I can click here. I right-clicked for a second just to see. So if I click it, it places it in my environment. And so now I'm going to want to place some more. So I zoomed out. So if I go up to Insert Components, then it pops up again, and I'm going to insert another object or another side. So I'm just going to kind of place things where they should be, or approximately just where it looks like they're going to fit. It doesn't technically have to be this way, but that helps. So instead of placing a third side that is the same way, since my other sides are not going to look this way, I'm going to go down here to this little degree rotation. And notice my axes over here, my X, Y, Z. So the way I think about it is that the one that's kind of sticking up through the middle, that I want the part to turn about that axis, is the one I want to choose. And if you get the wrong one, then oh well, you just click it again and it puts it back to what it was. So I'm going to click it and then I'm going to place that out here. So it's kind of like, where am I going to place these so I can put them together? Get my fourth side here. Rotate this one 90 degrees again, but put it on this side. And then I need to put a bottom in. All right, this time I want to rotate it around the X or the Z. I could choose either one to make it flat on the bottom so that it'll go underneath. All right, now I need to insert my corners. So I'm going to do 4 corners. I actually think there's a faster way to do this, but right now I can't remember what it is. So if you find a faster way, you can share it with the group. All right, so now I have placed all of my parts into my assembly. That's right, the first one doesn't move very well. So if you notice, it has this little F by it. So that tells it that it's fixed. And so if I go and right click on it and say float, then it'll allow me to then move that part. So what actually I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bottom piece and I'm going to tell that one. So I click on it over here and then it highlights on my left. I'm going to right click on this and then instead of float, it says fix. So I'm going to fix that so that I have a kind of a one part that's not going to move. It's going to stay solid in space, and that's going to make it easier for me to work with as I build my box. So one of the things you'll have to think about is kind of how you want your corners to look and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just gonna start going for it with putting this together. So the way that we make all the parts stick, in real life, we use glue or screws or some sort of fasteners or adhesive, right, to be able to put it together. So here what we're going to do is we're going to do something called a mate. So we click on the mate option up here. And then when we click on that, we then first have to say, okay, well, what things do we want to mate? When there's mating for this, there's two objects that you're going to choose, and then you have to choose how you want them to go together. So if you have two circular things, you can do concentric. If you have one circular and one straight, you could do tangent. If you have two straight, you can do perpendicular, parallel, or any two items, you can do coincidence. So we're going to do coincidence. You could also make things stand off. So instead of having them touching, you can have them be apart a certain distance down here, or you can have things apart at a certain angle. So if you don't want like 90 degrees, you could do the perpendicular, but if you wanted some other angle, you could put that down here. So when you're building your things and you're putting things together, all of these different mates types are going to be helpful. So we're going to use coincidence, and I'm just going to start with this part, and I'm going to zoom into it. And so I'm going to click on the inside of it. So I've got that surface, and then I want the other side of this part to be connected up against it. So one key thing to know is that if you click on the wheel on your mouse and then move, that's going to rotate your objects. So I want to, and then I think I'm going to need to zoom out and do back into the bottom of this so that I can see it easier. And then I'm going to click on this side of my surface. So if I go back to Control 7 again, that brings me back. But what that did is it made this stick basically stick on the surface of this part. So we need 3 different mates. I'm going to click the green check to be able to apply that mate. But notice that these 2 parts now are stuck together, but they move around. So if I zoom this way, you can kind of see that they stick, right? They're going to stay together, but I can still move it left and right and up and down. So every 2 parts actually need 3 mates to lock them completely, because we have 3 different ways that we can move in space. And so if we want something to stay, we have to make sure we have it locked in all those 3 different directions. So I'm going to do another coincident. And with that, I'm going to choose the outside edge here and the outside edge of this one. And then now you can see that that moved up against here. So if I hit check that that's applied, now I can, if I click now, the whole thing moves around, right? But it only moves up and down because I applied 2 different directions. So now if I do the tops of them, that's going to lock them completely into place. So coincident, click on the top of this and the top of this, and now they move up together. Okay, and then I can hit the green check here or the green check over here. Either way will work. And now I have officially applied all of the mates that I need for these 2 parts. Okay, I'm just going to work my way around the box. So my next thing is going to be to take this side and attach it on there. So I'm going to, I'm in my mate. I'm going to zoom in. I always zoom in close just so I can make sure, see how it's got the little orange around the face of this, to make sure that I've got the right part of the face. And then I want the other side of this, but I can't click on the other side from this direction. So I'm going to click on the middle wheel, rotate my whole thing around, and then I'm going to zoom into this and then click on it. And now it moved down there, but really it's connected to that. So if I hit OK, if I go back to Control 7, now if I move this, I can move it so they're closer together, but it does that same thing where when I move things around, right, those 2 are going to stay together, but they're not completely locked in space, only in that one direction. Okay, so Control 7 again. This time I think I'm going to do the top first. So we're in mate mode, so click on the top of this and the top of that. Aligns those up, so check. And then I'm going to scoot this over so it's closer to where I want it to be. And then this one's a little bit goofy, whereas I want to apply it to here. Well, I have to decide, do I want it to go on the outside of this or just the outside of the block? I think it might look nicer if I do it out here. So I'm going to put that out here so that slides out on this side. Hit OK. And now I've got that piece with a nice looking corner. So it's actually going to end up being a little, well, one way will be perfectly 8 inches on my box, and one way will be slightly more. All right, so now I need to put another piece of blocking in. So you can keep watching through this, or you can just keep going yourself and just click on the different parts that you need to be able to get this to work. You can see me rotating things around to be able to get them going. Control 7 is our friend, and the middle wheel really helps a lot to be able to get things to apply in the right spots, and zooming in and out helps a lot. If it doesn't move right away, then that means there's some sort of problem. You may have done a mate before that that makes it not work right. So this one let's see. Oh, you know what? I got an idea. We're going to do a little, make this corner kind of alternate around the corners. So that'll make it a little bit nicer looking on the outside. Control 7 to get back out. Now we're going to put this side on. So usually I try to create my mates so that they are similar to where the screws are going to be. All right, never mind. You might have kids whining in the background, but hopefully it's not too loud for you. I know that my the last video, the microphone didn't work very well, so I'm trying something different here for this time, so hopefully this is better. All right. Sometimes I get to where I can't see, so I've got to zoom back out again. Like, where am I again? All right, so see how those corners go? So it overlaps. So we'll end up with nice corners. Control 7, though this time I'm going to be on the wrong side of the object, but here we go. Try to get these things into a better place so they're easier to work with. Sometimes all this zooming around can be hard to watch and follow, so sometimes you just got to get into it and start going with it. That visualizing 3-dimension stuff, it's really helpful. So this is where some of that will come into play. Remember when you're zooming in that the where your mouse is what it zooms in on. All right, I'm just working through all these different points. There's a lot of them, as you can see. Just got to remember to hit a checkbox on each one, green check here or green check on this to apply each of them. And then I'm going to get my when you start getting to the last pieces, sometimes things can be a little bit goofy. All right, so we've got everything in place now. One of the ways that we can kind of tell that things are worked, that we've done things well, we've got the bottom we need to put on still. But if you click on a part and you start to drag it around and it moves by itself, right? If it does any sort of movement by itself, then you know that things need, something else needs to be assembled, right? So I'm gonna, I was on the, all right, I got out of the mate tool, so let me get back into this and we'll connect the bottom. Edit. Oh, it's like, that looks weird, but see, sometimes in space things get off and it looks funky. So I'm gonna go, I think I'm just gonna do it to this edge because this has to fit right inside. So it's gonna click on the edge, inside edge of that and apply it. And then I'm on my last one. Gotta zoom in farther to make sure I get the whole surface there. Voila. Okay, Control 7. Now, since I fixed the bottom, my box, if I'm done everything completely and I fix the bottom, now nothing should move. Okay, and we've got our box covering all the different gaps. We don't have as nice of a bottom. Oh, it did end up. I think one side doesn't end up as nice with the sizing that I put on it. So I could try to scoot it over a little bit, like a 1/16 of an inch to try to fit it on there better, but that's okay. Basically, we've now created our box. We've got our assembly. So I'm going to exit out or click OK on the mate tool or hit escape. And then I'm going to do a file, save as. And you want to make sure that you're saving in your Google Drive Solidworks TITB project folder. And I'm going to call it a TITB assembly and hit save. And then if you take a screenshot of this or just show it to me in class, then I'll stamp it for you when you're done tomorrow. So hope that you're having a good day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.